The hospital room was cold and sterile, but to Emma, it was the only place that felt real anymore. She sat by her father's bed, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. Machines beeped quietly in the background, marking time as it slipped away. Her father, once so full of life, was now a shadow of himself, frail and quiet. They had always been close, her father and her. He had been her rock, her guide through life's challenges, and her biggest supporter. When she got the call a few months ago that he was sick, Emma had dropped everything and flown back home. She couldn't imagine a world without him in it. Now that world was looming closer. "Dad?" she whispered, leaning forward, hoping he could still hear her. His eyes fluttered open, weak but still holding that familiar spark. He tried to smile, though the effort seemed to drain him. "I'm here, Dad. I'm not going anywhere," she said, gripping his hand tightly. His skin was cold, the bones prominent under her fingers. She wanted to say so much, to tell him how much he meant to her, but the words caught in her throat. How do you say goodbye to the person who raised you, who loved you unconditionally? "I love you, Dad," she managed to choke out, her voice trembling. "I always have." His eyes filled with tears and he gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "I know, Emma, and I love you too, always." They sat in silence for a while, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Emma felt the sharp sting of regret. She should have spent more time with him, should have called more often, visited more. But life had gotten in the way, work, relationships, responsibilities. And now, sitting by his side, she wished she could turn back time. "Remember, the cabin," her father murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma smiled through her tears. "How could I forget? We used to spend every summer there. You taught me how to fish, how to build a fire, and how to appreciate the quiet. How could I forget? We." Her father's face softened as he closed his eyes, perhaps remembering those days too, the laughter, the warmth, the simplicity of being together. "Those were the best times, Emma," he said. "I'm glad we had them." A sob escaped Emma's throat as she rested her head on his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, weak but steady. It was a sound she wanted to hold on to forever. But she knew better. Life was fleeting and time was merciless. As the night wore on, her father's breathing grew more labored, his grip on her hand loosening. Emma felt a deep ache settle in her chest, knowing the inevitable was near. "I'll be okay, Dad," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if it was the truth. "You don't have to worry about me." With one final breath, her father slipped away. Emma sat there, holding his hand, her heart broken, but full of love for the man who had shaped her life.